like, especially when you're building a business, you have to be committed to it. You have to believe in it. You have to want to talk about it and want to tell your story. And so the more that you do that, the more that you get connected to people who want to share your story and help you. Right. But it kind of starts with that is got to be your own hype girl.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Welcome to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Crock, and every Monday, I talk to someone here in North Idaho. The goal to connect more people in the Coeur d'Alene area. And then every Friday, I talk to someone outside the community to bring in a new perspective and to learn a little bit about yourself.
Do you love the Pacific Northwest as much as I do and want to show it off everywhere you go? I have the best apparel for you. Go to Forever Green PNW. So that's Forever ERGRNPNW.com or on their social media and go check them out. They have the best apparel. They have sweatshirts, they have hoodies, they have tees, they have swimsuits. They've got all kinds of great things to represent the Pacific Northwest. And they also are doing something really cool, little deals with their hoodies. So go check out them. They're fantastic and have a fantastic day. All right, I have one of my favorite people in the entire world and one of her business partners, and I am so excited to talk about what you guys are doing. So I have Sam Anderall, and then I have Andrea, which is our first time meeting, which I've been dying to meet this woman because I've heard nothing but great things from Sam. So Andrea, first tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name's Andrea Wilt. I have been a marketer for the last, I don't know, too long, for a very long time. Sam and I actually met 8 years ago when I was running marketing at Campaign Monitor. I was the CMO there. And actually, Samantha was my very first hire in marketing. I hired her before I had even started day one, which was amazing. And, we just totally connected and clicked and had an awesome working relationship. I became CMO there. Samantha ended up taking over marketing for our self-service business. Eventually, we were both ready to leave. And so we decided to form a consulting agency together interimly. And out of interimly came Harlow, which we'll talk about today.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I've had Samantha on the podcast before, and we were talking about marketing stuff and, thinking about you. But I guess kind of give everybody a little refresher of who you are.
Yeah. So, Andrea's intro was fantastic. So that kind of teased me up. But I have been doing marketing also for the past, 10 or 12 years. And like Andrea said, we met at Campaign Monitor, went on to form interimly our consulting business. And now we are building a software startup called Harlow, which is a tool for freelancers to really manage, organize their day-to-day and get paid. So we have been in this journey for the past year or so, actually a little over a year now, which is pretty wild. So Andrea and I have been working on building the product, building the community for the past year, and we are about to launch. So we're super stoked.
So I guess you said a little bit, but tell me a little more what Harlow really is. I mean, I kind of know because of you, but kind of explain to everybody what this thing is.
Yeah. So Harlow is a software product for freelancers. So everything you really need to manage your business. So think about everything from sending proposals and contracts and getting them signed, invoicing and getting paid, task management and client management, everything that happens on a day-to-day in between those two things, and really just a place for freelancers to go to manage their business. Our entire goal is really to alleviate stress and help those people save time. And that's kind of on the product side. So that's what the product does. But really, Andrea and I are building Harlow to be more than a product, right? We're building this brand and this environment and this community that is really about helping freelancers, with everything in their day-to-day. And I'll let Andrea build a little bit on that.
No, I think that was a great overview. We can just hear Carl yapping in the background.
I was like, is that Carl in there?
That's where the headphones come in that are unfortunately dead.
Carl is just saying hello.
Hello, everybody. Got a little yappy dog in the background as well.
I love it. It's because it's real life. That's what we're at. Everyone's
true.
Exactly.
True.
So Andrea, I guess what stage of this process? So when you do a business like this, it doesn't like overnight, okay, we're just going to start a business, open a shop. It's like, where are you guys at in this process of building this business?
Yeah. So Samantha was saying we started this over a year ago, but it's over a year ago. We just started talking about it, right? It took us months of talking, looking at the landscape, kind of figuring out what's out there, interviewing all of these freelancers to really understand their pains. We thought we knew their pains because we were freelancers ourselves. But a lot of things came up in those interviews that we actually weren't expecting. So we spent a lot of time doing research, figuring out, is this a viable business? I mean, we spent months building our business plan, figuring out what is it actually going to take to bring this to market, and what do we want? What do we want out of the business, right? Because that is kind of how we figured out, well, what are we trying to do to help us build that plan? And so with that, we figured out how much money we needed, and at that point, we went out and we raised money. So by raising money, that actually helped us to fuel the development. So we started development on the product only like 4 months ago, to be honest with you. And we have just been heads down, working on the product, building out the community also, which I'll have Sam talk about that in a little bit more detail. And we are getting ready to go live with our beta right now. So that's just getting some of these early adopters into the product, giving us some feedback to make sure we're on the right track. And then we should be launching the product to the general public very soon, within the next month.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
We are on the cusp right now. Andrea and I talk about kind of like sprints and marathons in business a lot. And right now we are in a sprint, right? We are getting beta live. We're getting like all of our help documentation out, figuring out how to talk to those people and get really good insight from them, take that insight, really tie it into the product. And then, yeah, like Andrea said, launching very soon.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. I'm so happy for you guys because I've been watching you, hearing this, and plugging. You guys raised a lot of money. Like that was insane to see what you guys did and how much people were like, oh, this is what's needed.
Yeah, that was, I will say that's one of the things that Andrea and I have been, this entire journey has been really fantastic. And there have been a lot of proud moments, but a really proud moment was we set out to raise $1 million. We actually came out with more than that, which is fantastic. We exceeded our fundraising goal. So we actually got to about 1.15 million. And the really cool thing about that is that over half of our cap table, half the people that invested are actually women. So Andrea and I were thrilled with that.
I love that. And that's why one of the reasons I wanted to interview this month, I was like, I'm going to do a bunch of powerful females in the month of March.
Yes.
Because this is insane. Like I just, when you told me that, I was like overwhelmed, like how incredible this is. So I guess either one of you tell me how did the name Harlow even happen?
You want me to take that up, Andrea?
I'll let you take that.
Awesome. So naming the business was actually quite the process. I think from the very beginning, Andrea and I knew that we were going to build the brand around this concept that like freelancing is lonely, right? Like you're a solopreneur, you're a single human, you're out here building this business, and there's a lot that goes into that. And a lot of times people don't necessarily know where to go for help or advice. And we wanted to be that, right? We wanted to be very empathetic. We wanted to be very human. We really wanted to be like a support system for our audience in this community that we were building. And so from that, we know that we wanted to have like a human element to it, right? So a human name. And Andrea and I went back on a lot of different names. We wanted something very gender neutral, because freelancers, it's men and women and, anyone and everyone can be a freelancer. So we wanted to make sure that they could relate to us. And out of all of that and our brainstorming, Harlow came out, which to us is just like a really soft, relatable, empathetic name. And I think we've heard that too. We hear a lot of great feedback. Oh my God, Harlow, I love the name. Where'd it come from? This exact same question. And that was kind of the journey to get there.
Yeah. And I know I was like, naming a business like this has got to be hard. Like you were like, it's not just like, a bagel shop, like Coeur d'Alene's Bagel Shop.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's an actual like, it's not something that's in a town or it's like a boutique. It's something that you kind of like, okay, how do we get that? How do we go from here?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, and then there's trademark issues also. So we actually had a different name picked out and realized that it was going to be impossible for us to trademark. And we were so sad, and we went back to the drawing board. And now I just can't imagine the company being named anything else other
Oh,
than Harlow.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love the name. It's very like nice. Like it's not like
Mhm.
something, you know, some names you're like, how do you say that?
Especially with tech companies. Yes.
Yeah. And it is funny, we did struggle with that with our last business. We had a consulting business and it was called Interimly. Andrea and I thought it was genius, right? We're like, we're your interim marketing team, Interimly. And people were like, how do you say that? What does that mean? We're like, man, that one doesn't hit. However, Harlow, we spent a lot more time thinking through and getting feedback on.
Yeah, I love that. Andrea, so obviously you two amazing, powerful women are probably inspiring so many people to kind of follow their passion and, you know, do something similar or whatever business would be. What kind of advice would you give to other women entrepreneurs out there about starting a brand new business?
So I think Sam and I are going to have somewhat similar answers to this, which really comes back to leveraging your network. So one of the things that became really clear to me when we started out on this journey is I started connecting with all of these people on Twitter and just following them, women, angel investors, early stage VCs. And what I found is there are a lot of women out there that want to support other women, and they're super helpful, willing to connect you with other people. And so I think my advice would really be to lean into that and lean into your network and ask for help. People want to be helpful. Like, we want to be helpful. We want to help other female entrepreneurs, any entrepreneur really succeed. So I would say to do your research and lean into your network and the community.
Yeah, I think you can kind of do that with LinkedIn too. I've gotten such great response through LinkedIn, like the people that are just kind of like communities. They reshare your stuff. They like, you know, they'll comment on things. I'm like, you don't even know me, but it's like a genuine comment. And it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, we actually also found this amazing lawyer that specializes in helping female-led businesses, and she put us in touch with other people, and that's just been an amazing like connection and network for us also.
Yeah. So Sam, do you have the same kind of answer for what kind of advice you give to a woman entrepreneur wanting to start any kind of business?
Yeah, well, obviously everything Andrea said, but I think to just build on that, what I would also say is to just put yourself out there, like hype yourself up, right? I tell any and all women who are building something or creating something or running a business, whatever it is, like women often are a little bit more humble and we don't like to talk about ourselves and we don't like to put ourselves out there, but you have to, right? You know, like, especially when you're building a business, you have to be committed to it. You have to believe in it. You have to want to talk about it and want to tell your story. And so the more that you do that, the more that you get connected to people who want to share your story and help you, right? But it kind of starts with that is got to be your own hype girl.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. I think all of us were kind of like, do we brag about this? But it's not bragging. It's more like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want you to get involved or help you, or exactly. I think you kind of have to just, you know, be confident who you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And share your successes. People want to see that. I want to see that. I know Andrea wants to see it. We share things just between she and I all the time. Oh my God, did you see this person that we talked to? They just launched this business. Or did you see that they completed their round of funding or their doors are opening? We should go support them. Like, you have to put it out there.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to what we were talking about, like your business, you know, you guys are kind of like getting close to actually launching this. And I had mentioned like, you know, what stage you guys are in. Talk a little bit more about that community and that kind of like with what you talked to me the other day about it is like, hey, you have all these people kind of beta testing. What does that actually look like right now?
Yeah. So I will say Andrea and I have really doubled down on community since day one. We knew that while we were building product, we also wanted to build community for a couple of reasons. Early on, obviously, we wanted to listen to freelancers and hear the questions that they're asking, hear what they need, really understand them and where they want to go in their journeys, right? And on top of that, we want to build a community for them to tap into. So there's a few things we want to hear them and understand their needs, so that we're building a product that works for them and that makes sense. we want to give them a community to connect with us and other freelancers so that they have that support system. Again, Andrea and I always go back to freelancing is lonely. You're a solopreneur, you're on your own. We want to give them a space where we are connecting them, but also hyping them up, right? So that's kind of the third point of our community, is really advocating for freelancers and magnifying their voices. So there are so many great freelancers out there that are sharing their thoughts or doing cool things. And we want to, through Harlow, get that in front of a larger audience, right? And so I think all of that, community can be created in a lot of different ways. Right now, we are focusing heavily on social media, creating that community there, but we're talking every day about how to expand that, right? What's our next platform? Where should we go? Where are freelancers? Where are they having conversations? What are the forums that they're talking in? So just all of that. Community is like an ever evolving item for us. It's something that we talk about every single day.
I think that's a great point. The freelancers, like, when you work at a business and you do well and you have your coworker, you're like, oh my gosh, I just sold this, or I just did this. And everyone's like, oh, nice job. Like, great, we're gonna hit our goals. But when you're a freelancer, you're like, I did this. And then it's quiet. No one's there to like,
Totally.
hi. So I love that you are creating that community for freelancers, like they are working together.
Yes. And I think that's, one thing that Andrea and I were really lucky when we were freelancing and running our, boutique consulting company into Rimley, is that we had each other. So we could celebrate our wins together. And that felt really good. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be going through that experience, because you're also like, freelancers are learning and growing every single day. I will tell you, from day one that Andrea and I launched our consulting business, through year 3, it was completely different. We were learning, we were evolving, we were figuring out how to run our business. And luckily we had each other, but a lot of people don't have that.
I know. I love it when I think you guys hit your goal or something. You guys drink champagne because you don't live in the same area, but it was like 10 o'clock in the morning and they're like drinking champagne because they hit their goals. I was like, that is awesome. Zoom champagne meetings.
Yeah. I woke up to an email from Andrea that said champagne for breakfast, question mark.
I love that. Andrea, so you guys obviously have started your own businesses. What is something you wish you would have known maybe before starting your business? Like, is there a piece of advice or something you're like, I wish I would have known this earlier on?
Okay, so Samantha, and this is not our first business. And in fact, I founded a software company before. Samantha has run some other businesses also. So I feel like we were prepared for the fact that there's so many things that we're not going to know that are going to come up along the way. We're going to have our ups and downs. So there wasn't anything in particular that I can really speak to of like, oh, I wish I would have known that. But I will say something that I am constantly reminding myself every day is what Sam mentioned earlier about this like marathon and sprint. It is an emotional roller coaster, and you just have to be really, really careful about making sure that you're taking care of yourself through the journey, because you have those highs where you're drinking champagne at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're like, yes, we've got this. And then you have those days where you're like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? Is anybody going to buy it? Did we just commit to something that maybe isn't going to work? And so I think you just have to be conscious of the fact that that's going to happen and take care of yourself through that process, through the ups and downs.
Yeah. I love that. Sam, is there like, I guess, a hurdle or something in business that you think that's been kind of one of the biggest hurdles you either had to, or kind of the same question is like, what is that something that you wish you would have known before starting any of your businesses?
Yeah, I think one thing you learn along the way that is wildly important is finding the right people, right? So obviously Andrea and I have been
being a theme with like, surround yourself with good people is what I'm catching on.
Yep.
Yes. Totally. And, Andrea and I have been lucky enough to work together for, 8+ years now. And so we really understand each other. But even outside of just she and I, like, we are not running the ship on our own, right? We are not building Harlow on our own. There is a team of people that are helping us. There are developers and content writers, social media consultants, designers, all of these people. And so finding the right people is so huge. Finding people that believe in your vision and that work the way that you do and that you just vibe with, like, finding the right people is so important. And I will say very early on in like side projects and businesses that I ran, I was not very good at that, right? Like I was not good at like seeking the right people out who I'd work really well with. And I think I've become much better and more cognizant of that as I'm moving forward. And specifically now with Harlow, it's just so important.
Yeah, that is so cool. Oh, that's what I'm saying. I was like, you just got to find right people that
Yes.
support you and love you. And it doesn't even, it's like any capacity. It's like your husband, you know, do you have someone that you with every single day that's the end of the day is like, hey, how was your day? It was tough. Okay, well, you know, is there anything I can do to support you? You know, and then it's your friends, it's your colleagues, it's all these things. So I think it is who's in your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
So Andrea, what's the future of Harlow look like? I know it's like, I know you're about to launch it, but you know, is there a dream that you're like, this is where we want to see Harlow be successful?
I mean, Samantha and I are really committed to building a like profitable business that supports freelancers. I think exactly where it's going to go, we're going to see where our customers go. You know, we are really just committed to listening to freelancers, listening to what they need, and helping them and supporting them to make their lives a lot easier. And I will say, like, the world has changed so much in the past 3 years.
Yeah, like just a couple of years. Like it's not like in the past 10 years. It's like, oh no, yesterday it's changed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that has really stuck with us in that we just always have to continue to be listening to our customers and evolving with them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. You guys are just fantastic. I want to hang out with you guys.
Well, I will see you this weekend. So you
actually. So, I always like to ask a couple fun questions because like keep you on your toes. I know Sam's probably her answers, but so Sam in Coeur d'Alene, what is your favorite go-to restaurant?
This shifts on like a week to week with me based on my mood.
Yep.
But I will say I really love Midtown Bluebird, like to my core. I just want to go there and drink champagne and have some oysters and some fries. It just does it for me.
Same. So you're going to Bluebird. Let's say you're going to Bluebird and you can have dinner with anybody you want. It could be dead or alive. Who's the person you're going to go to Bluebird with?
Okay. I've answered this question numerous times and I always go back to Cleopatra as my answer. And the reason is because she was one of the first really powerful women that had to like exist in this world where powerful women basically didn't exist, right? And so like the struggles and stripes and leaps that she made, although I do know that she did also a ton of negative things in her lifetime, but I think she would just be like a wildly interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, that would be in a perspective that you would have never known of. Like just
totally.
Yeah.
Andrea, so you're located in?
I'm in San Francisco and I have never been to Coeur d'Alene. Can you believe that?
How has that happened?
I know.
Sam and I haven't even seen each other in person in over 2 years, 2.5 years, maybe.
You need to come visit.
I know.
It's on the list.
So in San Francisco, tell me your like go-to or favorite restaurant.
Okay. So my go-to so I had a baby during the pandemic. So I've got a little one at home. So we don't really get out a whole lot right now. So my favorite restaurant is actually a little neighborhood pizza and Italian joint called Vega up the street. And they have this awesome parklet and you can sit outside and get a glass of house wine with the kid, the dog, and just relax and all the neighbors walk by.
So you're going there by yourself. You don't have to have the kid. You don't have to be with anybody. Yeah. Who are you gonna have dinner with? Dead or alive?
I mean, I'm gonna have dinner with my grandma. Is that kind of silly? Yeah, she passed away. More than 20 years ago, probably. But just the most amazing, awesome woman. And I miss her a lot. And I think about her a lot now because I have this stool in my kitchen that I used to sit in when I was a little kid in her kitchen while she was baking and cooking. And my son now sits in it now. And so I think about her all the time.
I love that. Yeah. So I think it shows a lot of who you are when that kind of question comes up and you're like, I love that. It's like, it shows a lot of your character.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. So Sam, how do people find out Harlow? How do they get a hold of you? Maybe they find, or maybe there's a freelancer listening. They're like, I want to be a part of this. How do they get a hold of you, or how do they follow Harlow?
Yes. So the website is meetharlow.com. So you can go there, sign up for a newsletter. By signing up for a newsletter, you'll get updates on launch, and you'll also get like great freelancer content delivered to you every month. You can also follow us on social. So we are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. Across all of those, you can just look for Meet Harlow. That is our handle. And we are actually brand new to TikTok.
On TikTok.
Yes, Andrea and I are diving deep into video right now. And so we're doubling down on it. However, there are no posts there yet. However, you can follow us for when we do start posting.
I love TikTok. The creativity on that app is insane. Like, it is so fun.
Yeah.
I am also new to TikTok, so I am learning it as we are going to be growing Meet Harlow's brand there. And I'm excited to dive in.
That's awesome. Andrea, like we've talked about, obviously you haven't seen your business partner in 2+ years. It's been a crazy year, especially, being in California. You guys, the restrictions are even crazier there because there's more people, more cases, more everything. Plus now we're in it's just crazy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people I think really struggling right now, mentally, emotionally, physically. What kind of a piece of advice would you give to someone maybe right now that's struggling and kind of lost, either emotionally or, spiritually in that way?
My first piece of advice would be to be gentle with yourself. I mean, this is what I'm telling myself right now, just be gentle, be kind. Think about how you would treat your best friend and try and treat yourself that way.
Ooh, I'd like that. How would you treat your best friend?
Yeah. How would I treat my best friend?
It was like, how would you treat it? I mean, you treat them with like such grace and gentleness. I mean, it's your best friend. And so it's a great piece of advice.
I love that.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I would say, a lot of the times we think during times like this, like we have to keep moving at the same pace and we have to keep going, when all these other things are going on. And so I would say, to build off of that, just give yourself the ability to slow down, right? If you need self-care time, if you need social time, if you need alone time, if you need time just off of work, whatever it is, like really listen to your body and what it needs and try to provide for yourself, right? Because we can't always run at the same pace. We can't always go through life quickly. Like sometimes we just need to slow down and just exist.
Well, and I think that you and I've talked about that before. It was like, I think you were sick or something. So you were at home, which was really good. You were like, I was able to kind of rest. I was able to like really take care of like some, just being alone too. But then you were like, okay, I need my friends. I need social settings, because that. But then you also know, I think you're really good about that. But then you're also like, no, I need to step back and say no. You're good at saying no. Really good. Follow Sam. He's always like, no, I'm already like booked out. I've already planned this. This is what I allowed myself to do. Your boundaries are fantastic. So I think that is a great piece of advice, is like, and the self-care thing is really, I think, important for everybody.
Totally. And, it's even if we really commit to it, it's something that we have to think about every day, right? Like boundaries don't just come naturally, and saying no doesn't just come naturally. Taking care of yourself doesn't come naturally. It's like, it's just little decisions that you have to make day in and day out, but it's also just putting yourself and your health and your mental health first, and make sure you're focusing on that.
Yeah. And you guys are both so busy. Andrea, you're crazy busy. Obviously you have a new child and starting a business. How do you juggle all that? Is there like do you have a secret recipe that we can all that like
day by day? I actually Sam gives me a lot of pep talks, because Samantha is really, really good at boundaries. And I will say at this stage, like I've figured out what works really well for me. So I've figured out when I'm hyper productive. And one of the things that I've realized is that spending 8 hours a day in front of your computer is not productive at all. I can get way more done in 3 focused hours than I can in 8 unfocused hours. So I really try and be just conscious of like what I'm trying to do. So I work like early mornings are really good for me. And then by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, don't really expect a whole lot of like deep analysis for me. And I, we have a family dinner at 6:00. So I'm, by the end of the day, I need to log off and go take care of the family. And then sometimes I'll pop back on, but I definitely lean on Sam to help set some of those boundaries, and where we schedule everything.
Yeah, I think scheduling is, I schedule my workouts like each week, I'm like,
Yeah.
I go to this class every week unless there's like a big work meeting happens. But I was like, no, this is my meeting for myself because I will go crazy if I don't.
Yeah.
And I think what you said, I think is so important for people listening is that knowing when you're most productive. Like some people work great at night, but I do not. Like I'd rather get up and get some emails done, work on some content, and I feel like I'm more productive than like if I was at nighttime.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, if I can get a couple workouts in a week, then I'm going to be even more focused and just happier. Like the happier I am with myself and the calmer I am, the more productive I'm going to be at work. Like just the easier life is going to be.
Especially when you're about to launch a
I know.
Yeah, I will say also, Andrea and I, as we're building Harlow, because it's one thing we're building this product and we're building this community, but we're also going to be building a team, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to be hiring people and bringing people on board. And Andrea and I are really trying to be thoughtful about how we do that and the type of business that we create. And one of the things that's really important to us is that we're not building a typical business that's based on 9 to 5, right? That we're really listening to what humans need and how they work the best. And we're all individuals, right? So like, that's how Andrea works best. That's not necessarily when I work the best, but we respect that. Mm-hmm. I work during my hours, you work during your hours, we figure it all out. And we want to make sure that stays super close to the heart of Harlow is like, taking humans into account as our first priority. And that's with our community, that's with our product, and that's with the team that we're building.
So is that your secret recipe too for juggling all the balls, Sam?
I guess so.
I think yours are probably boundaries. Like you're just so good about like, this is when this all happens and I've already got something. You don't try to overcommit yourself.
Totally. And I even struggle sometimes with my own boundaries because I love social time. I love seeing Harlow push forward. I love my workouts. I love my alone time. I love time with my husband and my dog, right? There's all these things that are like constantly juggling around, but I do try to be really cognizant with how I spend my time and prioritizing what's going to give me the most energy.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else that we need to know about Harlow before we end this?
Ooh. I think we've kind of given you the full story from A to Z. Nothing really coming up right now. I know, depending on when this airs, when people see this, we may be live, we may be not, but like I said earlier, you can go to meetharlow.com and check us out and kind of see where we are on that given day.
Perfect. Well, ladies, thank you so much for giving me some of your time and letting us know what's happening with Harlow.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Crock, and every Monday I release a podcast about different community members here in North Idaho. And then we end the weeks on Fridays with a podcast about the things I'm passionate about: outdoors, adventures, sports, the van life, and even current events. So if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. Thank you again. Now go be kind and do something great.